scratching and crawling my way to wellness. I mean, it did not come easy or natural to me. The definition of moral distress is knowing what the right thing to do is, but for thousands of reasons not being able to do it.
Dr. Eileen O'Grady is a nurse practitioner, coach, and author helping people transform their well-being through coaching and retreats.
Is that we can start to develop some residue where things just stay, they don't get resolved, and the next time an incident happens, we have this outsized reaction.
It was doing something to my soul where it was stealing away the joy and the satisfaction.
We are the CEO of our whole life. Like, we can decide where we put our energy.
All of it starts with us.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Right? Greetings and welcome to my new show, The Whispers of Wellness, where I talk about all things well-being. And oh my goodness, I have an amazing guest with me today, one of my experts today, and it's Dr. O'Grady. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. Well, Eileen, last time I had you on my other podcast of When the Moment Chooses You, and that one's still going. But since then, I've retired. I retired in July, and I retired with the intention to really go after the healthcare workers, the caregivers, because I saw a lot while I was within the system, and the nurses and the physicians and the whole care team are really struggling. And it's 2025. And so I wanted to have at least some conversations about what's going on. What is going on with our healthcare industry? So Eileen, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into this conversation.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Charlene. Yeah, so I'm a nurse practitioner, and about 15 years ago, I became a certified coach, and that really changed everything to have these more in-depth conversations, more skillful conversations with people, mostly about their lifestyle and behavior change. Based on my own journey of scratching and crawling my way to wellness. I mean, it did not come easy or natural to me. And so I just felt like what we were doing in healthcare by telling people what to do from up on high was really not very effective. And nobody really changed in that model of expert knowledge share, especially in this age of Google and AI and instant access, to knowledge. It's not a deficit of knowledge. It's really... sometimes people just feel they don't have the capacity to change, or they don't have maybe the right information. They don't know themselves enough. They don't, so to me, the conversations I have now are much more like an excavation project. And in the coaching training, I was not allowed to tell anyone anything, like give any advice, which is a discipline for those of us in healthcare, and sort of pulling the answers out of the person is kind of the new model. So that's what I do right now. And I do go into organizations and help them discover, what does a culture of well-being look like here? So what I'm finding is what it doesn't work is cookie cutter. This kind of best practice model doesn't really work so much. And I guess what I see going on all over the country is, the kind of venture capital coming in, these huge organizations that are taking away autonomy for people and a sense of control, and becoming much more layered with bureaucracy and policies that may not make sense to a clinician on the ground. And so that is causing a lot of distress, where people, the definition of moral distress is knowing what the right thing to do is, but for thousands of reasons not being able to do it, not be able to carry out what's needed in that moment. So I just see healthcare has really moved away from our roots, in many ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's wonderful. Eileen, I want you to kind of unpack that a little bit more, because I know for me, having just retired, before I retire, I witnessed so much. I like what you said, it's called moral distress. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does that coincide with moral injury?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a precursor. So I think of it as a continuum, where those of us that work in healthcare, we just are dealing with moral dilemmas. It's just part of the water we float in. We're not working in advertising or other things where we're just up close and personal to people that are having maybe the worst experience of their lives. So we are exposed, right? And that's just a part of our work. And then we can go into moral distress where we just think, oh, that person doesn't have the right insurance, or that we don't have the right providers on, or whatever the thing is. There's thousands of reasons where we don't quite match what the patient needs. And then what I think is so interesting is that we can start to develop some residue where things just stay, they don't get resolved. And the next time an incident happens, we have this outsized reaction. And, kind of like a trigger or a traumatic response that doesn't really match the situation because we're carrying all this and it's building. And then it can go into moral injury, which can be either one egregious incident that you can't recover from, or just death by 1,000 cuts, just over and over and over again. So that shows up in like two flavors. And then we go into what people call as burnout, which is what I call overdeployment and you call soul sickness, has many names. But of all of those names, burnout is probably the worst because it's very blamey and it's very kind of sounds permanent because it's from aeronautics. When they shoot the rockets up, the fuel burns out. So it implies it's permanent. And so that's the wrong word. It's an occupational stress syndrome. It's not in the DSM, but it's characterized by, the exhaustion, even after a vacation or some good night's sleep, just this exhaustion that doesn't go away, this feeling of inefficacy that no matter what you do, it's never enough. And the thing that's most tragic of all is when we withdraw, we disengage, and it can start to leach into cynicism, which is, to me, so tragic because we worked really hard to get these credentials. I mean, these are really, really hard programs to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the most difficult things I've done, including, delivering an almost 10-pound baby. Those graduate programs were hard. And so, and then we get here, at some point in our lives, we think, wait, why am I doing this? I've lost my way here. So that's a really distressing thing. So I think it's important for us to recognize it's not the person's fault, and it also doesn't just drop out of the sky. It's kind of a continuum.
Well, that's so powerful because I know after I experienced what I experienced and I left, and I had I had such agitation and restlessness. And so I love what you saying. You're just like tucking it under. And you keep going, you tuck it under and you keep going. And so my experience of when I retired, I was already writing books. I was already creating content and stuff before I retired because I was kind of doing the, birthing it while I'm working. And so when I stopped and I had an opportunity to retire, I was so excited. And then I'm telling you, Eileen, I was not able to write. I was not able to create. Everything was blocked. And I was like, what is going on? I've been waiting for this moment. Mm-hmm. And so I took 30 days to just be quiet. And as I went out in nature and I started walking, I started recognizing all the layers of trauma that I tucked away that I thought really wasn't there because I'm a positive person and I'm cruising and I'm like loving on people and stuff like that. But then I saw it felt like layers of different things. Like I could say, okay, this was the layer of this really director that was really horrible to me, or this was the layer. I mean, all of the different experiences that I had to chip away at them and get back to that place of healing. And I didn't even know it was up under there until I got quiet. See, and that's the thing. We're so busy that we're constantly taking things in. And that's why I kind of came up with the term soul pain, because I felt like my soul it was almost like my heart had a little hole under the bottom and I was trickling little drops of blood as I was going through my day. But it was doing something to my soul where it was stealing away the joy and the satisfaction and all of the things that I love doing. It became a chore, and that totally was not it. And that's not what we went into the profession. So I love what you just described there, because I think, Dr. Eileen, that many people are still there, even post-pandemic. And so I want you to talk about that a little bit more, the moral, like how does one find out if that's it? Because you know how busy we are. We
Yes.
always like, we're just keep going and think that we're super people.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's part of the culture, the grind culture.
Yeah.
Oh, I worked 18 hours yesterday, and it's sort of rewarded. Like people don't get, well, I'm concerned about you, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this idea of burrowing feelings, like big feelings and pushing them down, it's not a benign thing.
Yeah.
Because, they come out sideways. Or like a snarky comment or behaving in a way that we don't want to behave, or more commonly, people just start reaching for numbing agents, cookies, food, alcohol, drugs, too much TV, porn, all the agents that make us just check out of our lives.
Yeah.
And so that is not a benign thing to do, and it's happening all over the place for sure. So you described that so beautifully, because to me, this is almost, the anatomy of a transition, because retiring is huge.
Right.
And we don't really give enough space to it. It's a huge thing. So much of our identity is tied up in what we do. And
Yes.
and so what I know for sure is that whenever there is a transition, a big one coming, there is so much pain, unbearable pain. And somehow that's the beginning of it. So that's the good news. It's like, okay, you're not at the end. You're not going to stay parked here. We're going to move through these different stages where we start to redefine and reemerge. The caterpillar to butterfly thing.
Yes.
So you described that so beautifully, this big transition in your life, and how lovely to take that space.
Yeah. And you know what? I have to tell you. So Charlene, even though I said, okay, I'm going to pause for 30 days and I'm not going to do anything, I have been so programmed to be busy that I kept trying to create busyness for myself. And I had to literally, the inner coach in me had to say, you will not do that. You will not go here. You will not do that. And so it was really like a fight, a war within, because this person that's like a high achiever and always meeting this target, that target, now is starting to feel like, okay, I really should be doing something. I'm not valuable if I'm not doing anything. So I absolutely love the work that you're doing, Eileen. It is really powerful. So tell me, though, right here, while we're in this space, what can someone do, a nurse, a practitioner, a healthcare worker, a service industry person, if they're feeling what you just described, because you described it beautifully, that moral.
Well, I think what you just said, busyness is a decision. It really is. And so when I talk to nurses that don't have time to pee during an 8-hour, so to me, that is not being a strong self-advocate.
Right.
We're not presenting ourselves in our own lives. And we're contorting and bending to put other people and things above our own basic human needs. So that is such a big problem in our profession. And with me, I'm still fighting it. Like the to-do list. How do you live without a to-do list? Our productivity is kind of linked to our self-worth. And once we're to edge away from that, what makes a good day? So what we do in healthcare, like I was just listening to Abraham Verghese talking about, the barber poles that has these red and white stripes?
Yeah.
They were that way. That's the symbol, because you would go there for treatment. They would just, either cut it out, or they would leeches or whatever they would do. There was never a diagnosis. There was just a treatment. And so what we do now in healthcare is, so those stripes symbolize blood, because you would go there to get whatever taken out. And so what we do now is we name things, and the naming is so important, like this term of moral resilience, that we are in a morally distressing environment, many of us, and we may not name it, but once we name it, like, why do I feel so uncomfortable? Why am I restless? And, once we put a name to it, that is the beginning of the healing from it.
Yes.
To start to name how we feel. And so I think we have to hold on to ourselves in these moments. So if we're starting to feel like burned out, why did I do this profession? I think I want to sell real estate. Nothing wrong with that, but that is so tragic when people get all this training and then leave.
Right.
Into something that unrelated, they don't build on, right? And so I think it's really naming what we're feeling and then holding on to our bedrock behaviors. What are those things that we need to do on the daily to keep us grounded, so that when these things come at us, we're not on fumes, that we actually have something on board to help us name what we're seeing and advocate for the situation or for ourselves, and making sure that we're not being destructive in our relationships with our peers, with our family members, our patients that we're taking care of. So to me, it's holding on to ourself, that real self-awareness in the moment and extreme self-care. This work that we're doing is so difficult and so challenging and so exhausting. So you cannot short shrift this. This is the foundation, sleep, water, eating real food, having time with friends, rest,
Yes.
knowing what is a good day? What does that look like for you? And being super clear and unapologetic about it and not confusing it with selfishness, for sure.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. And you know what? I had to discover the power of saying no,
Yeah.
because you know how we just keep taking on things just to prove whatever. I had to finally, when I started saying no and I started being more true to me and aligning myself back to who I really was, that's when I really start getting a breakthrough. Because when I said no, it kind of gave me some power back. Like you said, we have a choice. We have a choice to take on another project, even though we can't really stack 10 things on top of the 20 that we're already doing. And
Right.
so that's pretty amazing. So why don't we do this? I would love for you to give advice to like a leader out here that's looking to elevate well-being. What would you say to them? Because I know you have some wonderful services. And first of all, you guys, Eileen did a workshop for us and it was so amazing. That's how I met her. And what I found interesting with your content, it was so relatable. It went like beyond just giving someone knowledge to actually me. It made me dig within myself a lot of the content that you shared. And I think that's what has been missing from a lot of the education. It gives you all of these things to do, but it never turns the finger back on the healthcare worker that really needs the help or needs insight or need strategy or, inspiration or whatever that may be. So tell us what you would advise.
Yeah, well, it's not a massage chair in the break room. That's too simple. And so, what I would say is giving people autonomy. And so, let's just say you have trouble on your unit, and like people coming late, whatever it is. And I use liberating structures, which is a whole thing I can talk about or you can learn about. But it's I can't tell you what to do because I don't know your context. But what really matters is getting a small group of people together in a room to solve their own problem. And so you could get them together to solve whatever problem. What's a common problem, Charlene, that people face on a typical unit, at Kaiser when you were there? What's a common problem?
A common problem is, honestly, like I'm kind of leaning it toward wellness. Many times I hear that I don't have time to actually care for a patient. I have too much to do, so I can't take the time to sit with the patient. I just do what I need to do and keep moving.
Okay, right. So everyone's just so busy and over deployed and just trying to plug holes. And I don't think that our job necessarily is to stand around with a fire hose. I mean, that's not the work that we do. Like, it's relation based, right? Relationship. Yes. And so I would get that group together, 6 or 7 people, and just say, what can we do to solve this frenetic pace? What can we stop doing? What resources do we need? Like, just to get the group to come up with 7 or 8 ideas and maybe pilot 1 or 2 of them. So you just get people to talk about what solutions they need. And it's not a raise. It's never really money. It might just be how we're working as a team, that maybe we pair up or we hire, we don't have as many nurses, we have assistants, whatever that might look like, and try things out and experiment, safe to fail experiments. But letting the people with the problem solve it is essential.
Well, and I think that's the power, because when you're getting things pushed on you, is very degrading. So you're not really even in it. So when you are empowered to actually say, oh, you know what, I thought of that idea, or we thought of this together, you're more apt to do it and to make the magic happen. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. So tell us what you do. What do you do, Eileen? Tell us what you do.
I was thinking about when I was out in California, I guess I don't remember where it was. It was Kaiser, Sacramento, I think.
Yes, South Sacramento.
And so I don't know if you remember this or not, but I'm not doing a lot of the talking. It's like there's framing happening, but then,
Yes.
okay, here's a very specific exercise that you're going to go into a small group and talk about your life. And so I think that's what's different to come up. I mean, there's some really basic things that we've all known since kindergarten, that sugar isn't so great and eating candy for dinner. We all know all that. So, and it's also available online. There's an abundance of it. But to me, it's being really aware of what I'm doing when I'm degrading my own well-being. Like, I stayed up till 2 a.m. scrolling. Like, that is just a disaster for me. And so just as long as eyes are wide open, that I'm being self-destructive and we're clear about it, right?
Yes.
And so I think going into a small group and asking them what they want is how we give power to and power over to people. Not power over, but give people their power to kind of set their own terms and create their own culture. So like if you have a lot of problems with gossip on your team, you can just decide that we're not going to tolerate gossip anymore as a group and just say, if somebody starts, we're going to stop them mid-sentence, and we can do positive gossip and just say something nice when they leave the room. Like that's how you start to chip away, change a culture without having to get permission or authority from the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how we conduct ourselves. And so if people say I'm too busy to eat lunch, well, that might just be bad planning. Or whatever we're doing, we just have to sit down and nourish our bodies. We cannot do this. This is the fast road to burnout, and then people leave the profession, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be able to take care of our bodily functions, and that's just got to be a non-negotiable. And we just do it, and we talk about it as a team, so we cover each other. Something.
Yes.
There's a solution to every problem, I believe, even if the solution is to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So a couple more questions. What is your vision for the future for well-being? I mean, I know it's like a big question, but what would you like to see happen?
Well, I'm sort of excited about functional medicine, and I have a functional medicine nurse practitioner that I go to. Awesome. And I just really specific, we don't just take supplements, but what are we supplementing, right? And I think the future is going to be very specific recommendations about, like we have them already for sleep. No one really follows them, but 7 to 9 hours a night. But about exercise, like very specific. So right now, many of us sort of just do everything, a little bit of everything, because we don't really know what to do. And I do believe that there's going to be much more specific recommendations. And I think there's so much interest in workplace well-being because we spend so much time at work. We spend, hours and hours, more than anywhere else in our lives, actually. Yeah. And so what can we do to make, actually, dare I say, make work more fun,
Yes.
Enjoy work. And so I think that's going to be the future because people will just walk with their feet in these toxic work environments. And they do. They don't stay when there's not a good culture in place. And there's real concern. Oh, this is your second 12-hour shift in a row. You must be, what can I do? How can I take care of you? Somebody noticing that we're on the raggedy edge.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
and 40-hour work week, I'll just say this too, it's just made up construct. And that probably doesn't work for most people, particularly women with children. So why are we following all of that? So I'm seeing, we're seeing so much of this gig economy where people are just working and getting paid for the work that they do. And so work is very rarely really even keeled. It's very spiky. Yeah. And so maybe we want to just work differently, work according to the demand and not just the hours,
Well, I would love for you to share about your book, Choosing Wellness. We're going to come back on, you guys, and unpack it all the way. But tell us some of the projects that you're working on.
Well, so I wrote this. It took me 7 tries, I rewrote this book 7 times. So it is really a labor of love. And I just described very personally how I scratched and clawed my way to wellness through my own experience, that I grew up in a house that didn't value it. I never saw anyone exercise. We ate terribly. It completely ignored our well-being in many ways. And so this was kind of the personal essays about how I got there. And it's an ongoing journey. It's never finished. Yes. I have, 2 steps forward kind of thing. So I'm working on that. And then another book project with some colleagues on how to bring the care back in healthcare, which when we have that finished, again, we wrote that book as an academic tome about how relationships are at the center of healthcare. And it was a giant snore and we didn't like it. And so we're rewriting it to talk about our own experiences of when we missed the mark and when we have these profound experiences, that when we have good relationships with our patients, it's good for us. So it's not another to-do. It's not another thing for an overdeployed nurse to do, but it's actually something that's very healthy and life-giving to us.
Oh,
And then
yes.
I have my yearly trips to Costa Rica.
Oh
Um,
my gosh. I can't
so
wait to go to one of
during
those.
COVID, I was all over this country giving webinars, and somebody said, when this is all over, we're all going to need to go away to some island and just recover. And so I just had this idea like, oh, maybe I can arrange that. So I found this beautiful place in Costa Rica. And we do about 2 hours of seminars in the morning, and then we just go and play. And, we spend some time in solitude. That's kind of recommended. And we do all kinds of things. And once you get there, you don't have to worry about a single thing. Once you kind of land at the airport, everything's taken care of. So those people that have a lot of decision fatigue, this is perfect for them. So there's lots of, we have had mother's daughter, we've had mother, daughter, granddaughter, we've had couples, we've had work friends, siblings. So everyone's welcome who's interested in promoting their own well-being.
Wow. I can't wait. So when is the next one so people can prepare?
January of 2026.
Okay, January 2026. Now, how's Costa Rica during that time? Is it nice out?
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful. And there's beautiful wildlife. It's wildly beautiful. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, you have been like super amazing. Is there anything else you want to talk about before I ask you the last question?
Well, I'm a huge fan of your work, Charlene. And I love that. I didn't actually know that you had retired. It doesn't look like you retired, but that you've changed your work, whatever that is doing. But you've just always been such a light in the world. And I remember meeting you and just what a bright light you are. And thank you for doing this work is what I like to say.
Yeah, well, I'm so, you were really an inspiration because when you came to our session at SALSAC, I was like, oh my God, I would love to be doing something similar to what she's doing. And you like literally encouraged me, write the book, get somebody to help you to write the book. And I finally did.
Okay, you got an editor. Okay.
I finally did. So hopefully I'll see the baby come forth in March. That's when it should be coming out. So thank you for all your encouragement and just the work.
Can I just say, Charlene, I think we need to partner on something. We need to get to work together.
Yes,
sure.
Let's do it. I'm totally open now. I'm feeling really like so good. Just taking care of my well-being has been amazing because the hard decision to retire, first of all, it was extremely hard. But it was so necessary. My coach tells me, or he told me, you know what, Charlene, you keep hanging around the swimming pool when God has called you to the ocean and he wants the ocean to pour back into the pool. And so when he said that, it resonated so deeply because I'm trying to make things happen within this small space and where there's all of the world out there that could use the gift that I have on the inside of me. So I just finally just took the plunge, and it has been an amazing journey of growth and pain and joy and just all of the beautiful stuff together that make us who we are. So I love the work that you're doing. And I think that's why I'm so attracted to what you're doing. And I got to come to one of those retreats.
Yeah, you need to come to Costa Rica, but also like how lucky we are to have your light fully shining, not dimmed in any way.
Oh, thank you.
You have such a bright light and we need, so keep
that's
carrying
so
on.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's so sweet. The last question, I would love to just a wisdom gem just for everybody out here. So I know I didn't ask you, but just give us a wisdom gem, especially that has to do with well-being, of course, or wellness for any human being out here listening to this podcast.
Let me just pick one, Charlene. This is so hard.
Okay, pick a couple. Pick a couple.
But one would be maybe the overarching thing is like we are the CEO of our whole life. Like we can decide where we put our energy. We're the only species that can do that. What am I going to focus on today? And there's a lot of noise out there. There's fires and wars and just terrible things going on. So what can I place my attention on today that regulates me, or I'm self-regulated? So that would be the first thing, is that we have to self-regulate. And if you're not good at that, you can get good at it, using habit science, that you can get good at it. But I think this idea that when you're distressed, there's obstacles, there's friction in your life, and to say, I am the CEO of my entire life. There's always something to do, even if the work is to accept it. Like I have to go and accept this addiction that this loved one has because I can't fix it. So my work is to accept it. There's always something to do as a CEO.
Well, that's very powerful. Can you just unpack self-regulation just a little bit more? What
Yeah.
does that mean?
I think each of us needs to have some bedrock behaviors in place that we are not fighting with. We're not in civil war about, we're not arguing about. And it's on a foundation of sleep, 7 to 9 hours a night, every night. The science is clear that we move our bodies regularly, that we can't just be sitting around all the time, that we eat real food that our grandmother would recognize is probably just a good guideline. And spending time with friends and like having some joy, like the weekend's coming up. Do we have, a plan? Use every moment of your PTO, plan fun first. So the beginning of the year, block all that time all at once and plan fun first. And so those are, to me, the bedrock behaviors of a good life, like living the good life. And that that there's PTOs for a reason. And so many people, Charlene, have weeks and weeks unused, and they're French fried, and they wonder why.
Tell me about it. I know so many people that, especially since I've retired, I had to use I've had probably about a month and a half or so. And I mean, I know someone else that had at least 4 months worth of PTO.
Yeah. And you become to Costa Rica.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for telling us that definition, just in case people needed to, go deeper with that. So anything else, any other wisdom?
Well, just the idea of these habits and self-regulation is that the whole point of the habit is because you don't have to think about it. Yes. You brush your teeth. There's no arguing. It's raining. I don't feel like it. It's cold. You just do it. You don't even remember it. And that's the beauty. And the downside of habits, because when you have self-destructive ones, that's a problem too. But developing, if you're not good at exercise or you don't have that nailed down, work on it actively and just say, I'm going to get really good at incorporating daily movement into my life or weekly, whatever that is, whatever you need to do, and make a habit of it so you're no longer at civil war with yourself, arguing about these really basic things that your body needs.
Eileen, it's really interesting because everything that you're talking about, all of it starts with us.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Right? Because we like to blame, well, the system, this person, that person. But I love what you're saying here because it does start with us and we have to make the decision. So thank you for really unpacking that. It seems like a lot of the work that you do really crosses over to personal development as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's all self-awareness, like learning. I was still learning. I just had a huge insight the other day about myself. Yeah, so it's never done. And I think that's the key to having a good life is really knowing yourself. Oh, there I go again, doing that thing again. That's not good. That I know where this is going to take me, and it's not a good place, versus being a teenager who just, acts on impulse and doesn't have that awareness, right? So that's the beauty of the modern elder is that we actually can develop some wisdom. That's the hope, is that we don't just grow old, that we actually grow wise.
Oh, that's wonderful. So beautiful. So tell us how we can get in touch with you and what do you have to offer for organizations? I would love for you to share your work.
So, I people have, had me come into their organization and say, we're described as a toxic workplace and we need to do some work and we want to have more fun at work. People are French fried, they're burned out. And so I love coming into these organizations and talking to the leadership about what the outcome is and setting up small group work, a little bit of framing, and let people talk about their lives and what would make it better. So those framing questions are really important. And it's EileenO'Grady.net, and I do individual coaching. I have a number of contracts with universities, doctoral students, leadership institutes, and an employee assistance program. So any nurse practitioner that works for one of these large organizations, if they're in distress, I'm on the phone coaching them within 24 hours of usually some incident that happens. So I have a lot of different projects happening. And so, but I'm open and I love doing this work and it energizes me entirely. So
that is wonderful. Okay. So what's one thing that you do for yourself to take care of you?
Okay, so I just wrote about this in a blog. I exercise every day. Because I'm the kind of person that doesn't do things. If I do it 3 or 4 times a week, it'll fall off. It's easier for me because then I start the arguing with myself. Oh, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. So for me, I'm all in or all out. That's just how I am. So that's been something that I've just had to admit to myself that it doesn't work when I do this intermittent thing. That's one thing I do. And it's not always very intense at all.
Well, thank you so much. You are such a bright, shining light in this world, and I'm so blessed to know you. So thank you for all that you do for humanity, and especially our healthcare workers. I know for sure I didn't forget you when you left, and I think that's the key. Your brand is what people say you are without your presence, and I think you are pretty amazing with the work you do and the heart that you do it in. So thank you for being who you are. And thank you for being on my show.
I can't wait to see what you do, but we're going to do something together.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, everyone.